It's a great day. My name is Shay Brown, the Happy Entrepreneur, and welcome to the Happy Entrepreneur Show, the #1 business development and revenue focused late night show in the country where we're on a mission. And our mission is to empower, our mission is to inspire, and our mission is to provide you, that's right, you, the hard-working entrepreneur, with all of the resources that are necessary to execute that big vision you have for the people you were called to serve. And on this episode, we have the one and only Jerry Roisentul, who's here in the building. He'll be talking about don't let doubt take you out. What's going on, Jerry? How are you?
Oh, Shay, it is so great to be here. It's an honor and privilege to be on your show. And I already know I'm going to have to match that incredible energy that you have, man. So I love it. I love it. But, don't let doubt take you out. There's a whole story behind that we can probably get into in a little bit. But, doubt is one of those things that never leaves. And it doesn't matter what's going on in the world, the economy. Doubt is one of those things that just hangs out. And, we have social media today, but guess what? People get on social media and they see everybody posting things about their successes. Look what I'm doing. Look what just happened to me. And when their life is not going quite like that, then they end up getting into this state of doubt, and it begins to work on their mindset, and that can be a very challenging thing to deal with.
Well, let me ask a question if I can. The fear of sounding kind of, not say sarcastic, but overly funny here. And I know we'll get into doubt and all that, but what do you say to the person that's struggling with the whole comparison thing? I think you bring a really good point up. We're watching things, they always say you can't be what you can't see. I don't know if that's true or not, but it's an old adage. So they're seeing things. They're like, whoa, you're here, I'm here. And even if you're not, I'm not doing what you're doing. So here's the question directly. And it's for you that's listening. And I've been guilty of this. Okay. I've been guilty of seeing what my colleagues are doing and peeking over here and there. Here's the question. What do you say to the person that says, I'm struggling right now? I know it's not a therapy session, but hopefully you can handle it. I'm struggling right now with just comparing. I'm comparing myself to what I'm seeing on social media. I'm comparing myself to my neighbors. By the way, this is a natural part. I'm comparing myself to my colleagues. What do you say to that person that's watching now so they don't compare themselves and then start doubting?
Wow, that is a great question, buddy. And let me give you a somewhat of a detailed answer to that. To me, one of the things that I've learned is the #1 door opener in our mind to letting doubt come in is playing the comparison game. And when you compare yourself, doubt just takes you out almost instantly. And we live in a world today where it seems like so many people are comparing the way they look, the way they feel, the way they act, what they drive, what they live in, their business. It is all around us. But our goal and our job as leaders, as business people, is to learn how to not allow comparison to give doubt a foothold into our minds. And one of the things that I teach in my executive coaching program is that when you compare yourself to other people, you'll become bitter. But if you compare yourself to yourself, you get better. And so what I've had to learn to do is to celebrate the successes of the people I see around me, because one day they'll be celebrating my success. And the only person that I've learned to compare myself with is myself. So I focus on every day, did I get a little bit better than I was the day before? Because that's all that I can control. I followed Tony Robbins for 40 years. He's had an amazing impact in my life through all of his teachings. Well, I go out and do speaking events. I may have 300 people. Tony Robbins does a speaking event. He's got 10,000. So if I'm not in the right mindset, it's easy for me to compare. Why does he have 10? How come I only have 3? I've got good material. I've got good energy. I know how to present to a room. And then that comparison game takes away my ability to do what I need to do for the people that showed up in the first place. So I celebrate what Tony's accomplished and say, Tony, thank you for showing me what's possible so I can keep working towards that goal and not compare myself to you, just compare myself to getting better every single day.
As you were saying that, thanks for sharing that with us. We certainly appreciate that. I know some people are thinking, they're watching and say, Shay, who in the LL Cool J is this guy named Jerry? I mean, it sounds good. He's come out the gate saying, well, this is all I've done and this is how I do it. But what is his backstory? Okay. What is his backstory and what was his defining moment that led him to doing what he's doing now? Because everyone's not reading your bio, Jerry, right now. There's some folks that listen to this podcast right now. There's somebody that's cooking right now. Somebody might be driving down the road or on an airplane, kind of listening right now to the download. So they ain't reading your bio. Some of you have, I know. Some of you are watching this live. So here's the question. Who is Jerry? What's the backstory to Jerry? Number one. Number two, and he can handle this, ladies and gentlemen. What was that defining moment in his life that led him to doing what he's doing now? That'll help us at least understand who this guy is.
You ready for this, Shay? Here we go. Okay.
Here we go.
17 years ago this week, 2006, was the darkest period of my entire life. I was going through a divorce with my son's mom. I was I was in a massively deep state of depression. The business that I had built, I was in the network marketing profession. The business that I had built for 13 years started to implode right in front of my eyes. And November of 2006, I ended up finding myself on the floor of my apartment, writing a letter to my son, who was 3 years old at the time, to explain to him why his dad took his own life. That was a horribly dark period of time for me. Now, I'm a man of faith. So I know and believe that God saved me because he had a greater purpose for my life than what I could see in that moment. And when I got up off that floor over the next couple of days, I started asking myself these questions. How could a guy like me, the encourager, the guy who people go to for inspiration, to talk, to share, to inspire, how did that guy end up on that floor? And what I learned, Chief, from my experience was this. When I was thriving and doing great, I was managing my mindset. But when I got down to that floor, almost to the point of ending it all, my mindset had managed me. And what specifically happened in my mindset was I was riddled with doubt. Doubt about myself, doubt about my abilities, my skills, my vision, my passions, my hopes, my dreams. The people in my own life doubted me, and doubt almost literally took me out, which is why I wrote my book, Don't Let Doubt Take You Out. It's my journey and my experience. And so I made a decision that day. That right there, my friend, was my defining moment. I have a second chance. What am I going to do with this? And I made a decision that day that I was going to spend my life taking the things that I've learned about doubt, fear, your mindset, all of that stuff. And I was going to spend my days teaching and training people on how to manage their doubts, manage their mindset, so their doubts and their mindset doesn't manage them. And that's what I've been doing for the last 11 years of my life.
And in doing so, by the way, along the way, you also work with multiple leaders, I understand as well. And I'm curious, as you were talking about what folks can do to apply in their own life, what would you say? Because, Jerry, we had a number of folks that are watching that are dualpreneurs. They work a full-time job. They're a full-time entrepreneur. They take care of their family, their moms, their dads. Some folks are caregivers. So there are a lot of folks that are watching and be like, okay, Jay, but I get what he's saying. I'm there. I'm with him. I'm Mr. Positivity or Miss Positivity. What is his recommendation for folks that I lead as a team? Because there are a number of folks that have 2, 3 people working for them or have whole organizations underneath them. So can you take a moment and let me know if this is a fair question, but can you talk to the folks that are inside of companies and they're like, whoa, what would be 1, 2, or 3 of Jerry's suggestions that I could take as a leader to help my team step up as well so they can remove the doubt inside of them?
Right. I love that question. And I could go on for hours on that question alone. But in the time that we have, what I can tell you is this: you can't give people what you don't first have yourself. So if you're going to teach your teams how to manage their own doubts and the things they're dealing with, you've got to be good at learning how to do it yourself. You know, John Maxwell has this great saying: we can't successfully lead other people until we successfully learn how to lead ourselves. And I believe that's where it begins. And as someone who built a network marketing business, if anyone was in that profession or understands it, it's all about building teams. So I was constantly working with teams for 13 to 14 years, and people would come in with their doubts and their insecurities and the comparison game and all of these things. And one of the things that I have learned that has helped me manage my own doubts and help my teams is I teach people you got to celebrate little victories on the way to the big victories. You got to take the time to not just have this. I have a big sales goal, and I'll celebrate when I hit that big sales goal. Well, that's not always going to work, because if you have things that don't go well, clients that cancel, things that don't work out the way you want, you've now got this gap open for doubt to creep in and start telling you you're never going to achieve your goal, you're not strong enough for this goal. So I used to teach my teams, and I did this all the time: celebrate the little victories along the way to the big ones. You know, it's like my friends who like to run the New York marathons. They tell me about it all the time: 26.5 miles. Well, I run from my house to my mailbox, back to my house, and I need a nap for 2 hours, yet alone think about running 26 miles. But they tell me that every 5 miles they have a little mile marker. And what's the purpose of the mile marker? Well, could you imagine running 26 miles and having no idea how far you've gone, having no idea how far you have left to go? You're just running and running. There's no frame of reference. So those mile markers every 5 miles are for you to say, hey, I just accomplished something. I'm 1/5 through the race. I know where I am. I know how far I have left to go. And when you celebrate those little successes along the way, then it pushes doubt to the curb. It pushes doubt to the side. It can't take over if you're just waiting to accomplish something big. So that's one thing I teach people, especially people that have teams, is you've got to celebrate little victories. And another thing, I'll just give you one more thing I always share with people about this, is that you have to train your team, especially when you have teams. You know, I've worked with real estate friends of mine that have teams in there. And I mean, think about that. You're trying to sell a house, it falls through at the last minute. Now you have doubts that, oh my gosh, is that going to happen on the next house? It just is, it's a cycle. But one of the things that I teach is that you've got to renew your mind every day. You've got, your mind is your most powerful asset, or it is your greatest liability. And you've got to be doing things every day to work on your thinking, whether it's you're listening to a podcast, you're saying affirmations, you're praying, you're meditating, whatever it is for you. Your mind is like a muscle, and you got to work on it every single day, because when you don't do that, then you give doubt and fear a playground to come play in that you're not prepared to handle. And so when I train teams, those are just a couple of things, tangible things that I help them do. Structure of game plan. What am I going to do every day to really work on strengthening my mindset? And then what am I going to do to celebrate my little victories? Every little victory I get, moving me to the goal, I'm going to celebrate that as an accomplishment and keep moving forward.
What do you enjoy most about what you're doing? That was a great explanation, man. But what do you enjoy most about what you're doing these days?
You know, I think for me, it is knowing where I've come from and knowing that the things that I have learned along my journey are now making a difference in other people's lives. There's nothing greater to me than to know that my struggles, my adversities, my challenges, my setbacks have now become the tools that I'm able to use to really make a difference for other people and understand where they are and understand how they think and understand what their mindset's going through and have tools available that can actually help them fix that and improve that and manage that way better and way faster than it took me to figure it all out myself.
I love it, man. You know, we have a segment here called "Today is my January 1st." Now, for those folks that watch every night at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you know what we're about to do. You can go ahead and say those magic words if you like. Today is my January 1st. Doesn't that feel good? Doesn't that feel so good? And for all the new
Yeah.
folks who tune in for the very first time, welcome to the Happy Entrepreneur family, by the way. Today is my January 1st. It's one of our personal mantras, by the way. It stands for a do-over. It stands for a fresh start. It means the past, no matter how dark, no matter how gloomy, the past back there no longer equals the future, by the way. Isn't that exciting? So my question to Jerry on the other side is really two parts. Number one, when he hears those words, today is my January 1st, what does he hear? And number two, what was another setback that he had, a challenge he had in his life? Then how did he bounce back from that? And you watching at home, you can benefit as well.
That's awesome. Well, you know what? The story that I shared about where I was 17 years ago was really my defining moment. That was the defining game changer. My January 1st probably came in 2017. I had been building my business for, at that time, about 5.5 years. And 2017 was one of those milestone years for me. I got remarried to my second wife. We bought our first house. I was able to put my son in a private school that I had hoped to put him in. And so all of these things lined up. And then the bottom fell out from underneath my business. I started having some people in one of the companies that I was training, start talking about me personally, even though nothing was true. It was all about other people that had come in as speakers and really hurt their organization. So because I was a speaker, even though they didn't really know me, my integrity, my heart, I just fell into the category, so I must be like them. And they really polluted the minds of the people that I was working with. And the people had to make a decision, do I want to work with Jerry? Do I have to keep my relationship with my business partners? And obviously they did that. And so just like that, I lost 80% of my client base and my income overnight. Just got married, just bought a house, just put my son into private school, and 80% of my income was wiped out like that. And I will never forget sitting on that floor of my house. Somehow I seem to like floors. I don't know why, but things happen when I'm on floors. So I was sitting on the floor of my house. I was crying my eyes out. I was thinking to myself, talk about doubt. Oh man, you're going to lose everything now. You don't have a way to make income. Your income dropped. You're going to lose your house. Your kid's going to have to be pulled out of private school. Doubt just coming at me. And so my January 1st moment happened right there because I said to myself, Jerry, this is only a setback if you allow it to be. This is only the end of your journey if you choose it to be. But you can make the decision to get back up, dust yourself off, kind of redefine yourself and what you want to do, and get out there and build this back bigger, better, faster, and more impactful than you did up to this point. And that really was my January 1st, my do-over, my let's forget what happened because I couldn't control what happened, but I can control what am I going to do from this point forward. And I shifted my mindset and I pushed those doubts aside and I got back up. Was it easy? No. Was it challenging? Of course. But I built what I have now, bigger, better, more impactful than I did the first time before I lost it. And it was all in that January 1st moment saying, this is going to be a new beginning because I choose it to be. And so you might have some listeners that are going through those challenges right now, difficulties. I mean, look at what's going on in the world. But I want to encourage you of this. You cannot always control the circumstances that happen in your life, just like I could not control the circumstance that happened to me. But you have total control over the attitude you're going to have towards it. That's your gift. is your ability to decide, how am I going to respond? How am I going to react? What am I going to do about it? And my January 1st started right then and there. And I've been going ever since for the last 6 years.
Thanks a lot, man. I certainly appreciate your transparency and sharing some of those tough moments that you've had. It certainly means a lot to me and to the audience that's listening as well. One of my favorite questions to ask, and I'll share the question and I'll frame it. But the question is, what's one of the best pieces of advice you've ever been given? And I see you're a John Maxwell certified coach as well, and I've been through the John Maxwell certification program. But to frame the conversation for the audience, the question really is, of all the mentors that Jerry's had, and I haven't heard him say he's done this by himself, he's had so many mentors, right? Some he may have met, some he never have met. The question really is, what's one of the best pieces of advice that he holds near and dear to his heart that he's going to share with you? Now, this is a chance for you to lean in at home, because you get a chance to walk away with something that you could use for the rest of your life that could benefit you or those that you know. So the question, what's one of the best pieces of advice, Jerry, you've ever been given?
Gee, you asked the great questions, my friend. Let me tell you. I'm going to tell you that one of the greatest pieces of advice that has driven my entire life was not only given to me by one of my best mentors, it was given to me by my dad. And when I was a young teenager, my dad had his own drapery business, and I used to go out in the summertime and I used to work with him. And one day we were having lunch, and my dad said, "Son, whatever you decide to do in your life, I'm going to give you the true secret of success." And I said, "Okay, Dad, let's hear it." I was about maybe 15. And he said, "Jerry, there are two important things that you have: your character and your integrity. If you lose either of those, you've lost everything. Always be a man of character and always be a man of integrity, and success will follow you." And I have lived my life for the last 40 years with that advice in my heart. In everything I do, in all that I am, I try to walk with integrity, to have the character that people can trust, that I'm the person who does what they say they're going to do. And it's so amazing that that advice my dad gave me 40 years ago has been one of the key components to my success today. And that, to me, was the greatest piece of advice I've ever been given in my life.
Your dad's a powerful man. Great advice. I love it. What do you do for fun when you're not out saving the world and making a difference and having all this impact and all this influence? By the way, man, what do you do other than sitting on the floor? I'm joking. But what do you do for fun?
Well, you know, my son now is 20 years old. And I always say, anybody that's raised teenagers, you understand, well, if you can get through that stage, you've done something okay. But when your 20-year-old son still wants to hang out with you as a dad, that's a great thing. So I spend a lot of my time with him. We love going to movies. We love going to anything sports. My son loves basketball. We'll sit here and watch all the basketball games together. Love to hang out with friends. Love to go hiking. Love to just get outdoors and just be around nature. I just love to do that stuff and find ways to rest my mind so that I can do more and be more. I think part of the problem we have in this world is we work so much that our tank runs out of gas, and yet we're still running on fumes, wondering why in the world can we not get anything done? Well, I always take the time to refuel myself, because if I'm not filled up, then guess what? I'm no good to myself or anyone else. So I love to do all of those fun things so I can go out and enjoy time with my son, my friends, myself, and just fill up my tank so that I have more to offer the people that I'm serving.
Man, I love what you're doing, man. I love the difference that you're making. You got to take some moment and tell us a little about this champion summit that you do. I know it had nothing to do with what we're going to be talking about, but you're doing something that's just totally amazing. It's incredible. It's certainly something you and I have in common, at least a piece of it there. So take a moment and talk to the audience about what was the backstory behind the champion summit? Why does it exist? And who's the audience for? I think that's pretty good as we come down the home stretch.
And it's funny. We talked about this. Yeah. I would do my champion summit events for 11 years. And of course, they stopped in person when COVID hit.
Yeah.
So when I saw your event, the Comeback Champion Summit, I thought, oh, we got to connect. And what the Champion Summit events were all-day events, and they were called Developing the Mindset of Leadership. And it was really taking everything that I've learned about mindset, some of the major things I've learned about how to be a great leader, and packaging it into a program that people could attend on a, all day. It was a 9 to 5 event. It was a lot of fun. I haven't done them for several years because of COVID, but now I'm looking at getting back out there, really getting into businesses and companies that would love to have some of that training on a more personal level. I work with a lot of businesses here in my community where I go into their companies and I work with their teams and we work with their employees on leadership skills and mindset skills and communication skills. And so I do all that, but I'm definitely looking to get back to the road and to do some of my Champion Summit events, because I haven't done one in 4 years since COVID and a little before that. And I miss doing them because I love being in front of people. I love energy. I love connection, and just love to see the manifestation of the breakthroughs that happen when you're watching people go through them. It's a fun thing. And I look forward to doing that again here real soon.
I love it, man. I'm so glad that we have connected. As we come down the home stretch, I guess the last question, two-part question I have is, number one, what type of clients are you looking to work with these days? Number one. And number two, how can both folks best connect with you? How can they stay in this conversation over and beyond the time that you and I have right now?
Absolutely. My main niche is entrepreneurs. Any sort of entrepreneur, building a business, starting a business, has a business with teams of people. I love to work with entrepreneurs, number one, because I understand them, because I've been one for most of my life. I love to work with entrepreneurs that have teams, because I spent 13, 14 years of my life building a business with teams, so I understand the team dynamic. And so I love to work with them, and any kind of business that says, hey, I like, to improve our leadership training. I love to improve our communication training, our team building training. Those are the people I love to help and work with. And as far as reaching out to me, everyone can go to my website, which is championmentorship.com. On the website, it'll have all sorts of information of what I do, what I offer, what's available. And there's a little tab on the top right that says connect or contact. And if you hit that tab, you can send an email to me, and I will personally respond to each and every email that I receive. If you have any questions you'd like to ask, if you'd like to talk about, booking an event for one of your businesses or coaching or anything of that nature, you can go to championmentorship.com, hit the contact, send me an email. I will get back to you personally at my fastest and earliest convenience.
Man, thanks a lot for being on the Happy Entrepreneur Show. I appreciate it. Can't wait to connect. Can't wait to have eye-to-eye contact, man. One day sit down and break some bread.
Yes, that'll be great. Thank you for the honor and privilege, my friend, of being on your show. It really means a lot to me, and I hope it will be of value to the listeners that are going to listen to this.
Indeed it has. And thank you. Thank you to viewers. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being part of the Happy Entrepreneur Show. Without you, well, there is no show. And we appreciate it. And I never get tired. Every night at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I never get tired of sharing with you that you are just super awesome all by yourself, that you're already incredible, that you already are so special. You've got these unique gifts inside you, and that for you, today indeed is your January 1st. And because of just that one reason, with the right mindset that Jerry talked about, I believe for you, your best is still yet to come. Your best is yet to come. Your best is still yet to come. With that being said, my name is still Shay Brown. It hasn't changed. The Happy Entrepreneur. Make it a great day, everyone. We'll make some good things how we connect again next time. Peace. Thanks a lot, Jerry. We out, everybody. Peace, everybody.
See you, everyone.